In the deep blush of early morning light, the sleepy town of Havenwood lay at the border where dense urban landscapes surrendered to the untamed wilderness. Mist curled over the surface of an ancient lake, its waters murky with secrets and whispered legends that had been passed down through generations. It was here that Arya, a young woman with a spirit as unyielding as the rugged mountains surrounding the town, felt an inexplicable pull, a summons from something beyond the veil of normality. Arya's life had been a tapestry woven from threads of ordinary days and extraordinary omens. Growing up amidst the bustling vibrancy of the modern United States while simultaneously being tethered to the ancestral roots of her family, she had always known that her destiny was intertwined with forces far older and more mysterious than the everyday world. Her reflections often led her to the lake, a silent observer of her inner turmoil, as if it held the answers to the riddles of her lineage. On this peculiar morning, a shiver of anticipation ran through her as the subtle murmur of a presence beckoned her closer. The call was not a sound that could be captured by ears alone. It was a sensation, a pulsating rhythm in her heart that dared her to step beyond the limits of safety. As Arya approached the water's edge, the mist parted like a curtain on a stage, revealing transient shapes dancing in the half-light. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and wild thyme, evoking memories of nights spent poring over old family journals, reading about cursed lineages and fabled alphas hidden in the darkness. At that moment, Silas emerged from the shadows. Tall, enigmatic, and exuding an aura of dangerous allure, he was every bit the haunted figure of the legends whispered among the townsfolk. His eyes, a haunting blend of stormy gray and piercing amber, seemed to hold centuries of sorrow and untold secrets. Silas was known in the hidden circles of the supernatural, a werewolf shifter cursed to walk between worlds, caught in an eternal struggle between his wolfish nature and the remnants of his humanity. His presence was both magnetic and perilous, drawing Arya into a vortex of emotions she could neither fully control nor comprehend. Their first encounter was laden with tension. Arya's breath caught as Silas stepped forward, his movement fluid and predatory. There was an unspoken recognition in his gaze, a silent greeting of souls who had known loss, betrayal, and regret. "You've finally come," he said in a voice that was simultaneously soft and commanding, each word carrying the weight of destiny. Arya, startled yet entranced by the magnetic pull, hesitated before answering. "I felt something. A pull as if my heart was calling you," she whispered, her voice wavering between fear and hope. Amid the sounds of gently lapping water and rustling leaves, their conversation unfurled like an ancient ritual. Silas spoke of a curse that had bound his lineage to the night, a legacy of betrayal that originated from a secret pact made long ago. With every word, his story painted a picture of a family divided by ambition and dark magic, a pact that had allowed him to hold the title of Alpha but at the cost of perpetual solitude and hidden suffering. In the midst of these confessions, Arya found herself grappling with conflicting emotions, terror at the darkness that now enveloped his existence and an undeniable sympathy that drew her closer into his enigmatic world. Their dialogue was punctuated by brief silences, weighted with the gravity of what remained unspoken. In one such pause, Silas admitted, "I see your own scars, Arya. You carry a bloodline not entirely free from the taint of these ancient shadows." His words resonated with her, invoking memories of long-forgotten family secrets and painful betrayals that had shattered relationships. Despite her instinct to retreat, a hidden part of Arya longed to embrace the danger, to delve into the forbidden and unearth the truth about her origins. As the morning sun began to cast golden beams across the landscape, the lake transformed into a shimmering mirror reflecting both the beauty and the sorrow of the moment. The contrast between the vibrant urban expanse visible in the distance and the eerie, almost sacred ambience of the wilderness provided a stark reminder of the duality of life, modernity and mythology, reason and superstition, hope and despair intermingled in every breath. The shifting interplay of light and shadow became a silent narrator to the burgeoning connection between Arya and Silas, hinting at the intricate dance of fate that lay ahead. While the allure of the unknown tugged at her, Arya's inner voice warned of the peril inherent in dancing too closely with danger. Her thoughts were a tempest of dreams and doubts, conflicting with the palpable pull of a love that promised both salvation and ruin. Memories of past heartaches and the weight of ancestral responsibilities swirled within her mind, urging caution even as her heart urged rebellion. The moment was charged with a premonition, an anticipation of events that could either redeem her family's cursed legacy or shatter the bonds of her heart irreparably. The stakes of their meeting soared as the narrative of their lives began to converge. Underneath the surface of whispered confessions and tentative glances, A far greater drama was unfolding. A drama fueled by ancient grudges, the scars of betrayal, and the ever-present threat of a hidden enemy determined to see the curse continue unabated. In hushed tones, Silas revealed cryptic details about a clandestine society within his pack, whose members harbored dark ambitions and were willing to sacrifice anything to maintain their grip on power. "Our fates are entwined by threads woven in both sorrow and defiance," he murmured, his voice carrying the quiet fury of someone who had seen too many betrayals. Their dialogue seamlessly intermingled with the natural cadence of the night. The rustling of leaves, the distant howl of unseen wolves, and the gentle rustle of the wind through the ancient trees added layers of auditory texture to the unfolding romance and turmoil. The environment itself became a character, a silent witness to the inevitable clash between love and legacy, between freedom and destiny. The visceral imagery of the swirling mists, the evocative scent of pine and earth, and the lingering remnants of lunar brilliance combined to create a setting that was as alluring as it was ominous. For Arya, the emotional intensity of the encounter was both a curse and a blessing. It was as though every heartbeat carried with it the potential for both destruction and redemption. In a moment of unexpected candor, she asked, "Can love ever truly break a curse that has been cast in the deepest of shadows?" Her question, heavy with the weight of centuries-old mysteries, suspended in the charged air between them. Silas's eyes gleamed with both sorrow and fierce determination as he responded, "Love might just be the key to unlocking a fate that has long been sealed by despair and regret." As the day edged closer and the first hints of the urban sprawl became visible beyond the tree line, an eerie sense of inevitability began to settle over them. It was clear that their meeting was not a mere coincidence but the convergence of destinies shaped by forces beyond mortal control. The promise of redemption shimmered on the horizon even as the specter of betrayal loomed large, threatening to eclipse the fragile spark of hope that had ignited between them. In that silent moment of fragile understanding, the lake bore witness to a pact silently forged, a vow to confront the shadows of the past, to battle the demons that had haunted their families, and to risk everything for the possibility of transformation. The tension was palpable, each heartbeat echoing the dual nature of their entwined futures. The first rays of the sun pierced the lingering fog, illuminating not only the mist but also the murky depths of their souls, setting the stage for an odyssey fraught with peril, passion, and unforeseen revelations. Just as the unfolding day promised clarity, a sudden disturbance shattered the illusion of calm. In the distance, a low, resonant howl cut through the serenity, a sound that was both a warning and a challenge. The cry was not random, it was a harbinger of something far more sinister lurking at the periphery of their fragile truce. Arya's eyes met Silas's once more, their shared glance heavy with unspoken questions and buried fears. The mysterious howl signaled the presence of those who opposed their union, the dark forces determined to ensure that the ancient curse remained unbroken, their motives steeped in jealousy, betrayal, and a thirst for power. In that charged moment, the promise of love warring with the inevitability of tragedy, Arya realized that her life was on the cusp of an irreversible change. The battle lines were silently drawn, the forces of destiny and defiance were aligning to challenge the status quo, threatening to drag them into an abyss from which there might be no return. The fragile connection between Arya and Silas teetered on the brink of an emotional precipice, each passing second laden with the risk of irreversible loss or the spark of a transformative breakthrough. With the lake as their solemn witness and the encroaching shadows hinting at an imminent onslaught, the stage was set for a journey that would pit love against a storied past, forcing both of them to confront the darkest corners of their souls. The ancient curse, long entrenched in the secrets of blood and betrayal, was now a tangible force, a looming presence that threatened to unravel the delicate tapestry of hope they had begun to weave together. Every whispered word, every lingering look, and every tremor of uncertainty was a testament to the daunting challenge before them. As the suspense mounted and the echoes of the mysterious howl dwindled into the distance, Arya took a tentative step forward, her resolve hardening beneath the weight of fate. The convergence of past sins and present desires had set her on an inexorable path towards an unknown future, one where the price of redemption might be steep and the scars of betrayal indelible. Yet, in that moment of heightened vulnerability and fierce determination, a quiet promise was made. Whether the curse would be broken or the love between them would falter under the immense pressures of destiny, their fates were now irrevocably intertwined. The narrative of their lives, etched in the annals of time and marred by the secrets of generations, had only just begun to unravel. Each heartbeat was a countdown to an impending climax, a revelation that would challenge everything they believed about love, sacrifice, and the true nature of the curse that bound them. With hearts in tumult and souls laid bare, Arya and Silas braced themselves for the onslaught of revelations that were destined to redefine the boundaries of their world. The chill of the unknown mingled with the warmth of a daring hope, a fragile light in a land overshadowed by ancient grievances, as their story prepared to catapult them toward an uncertain, yet compelling, future. As dusk crept over Havenwood, the once gentle murmurs of the lake transformed into a chorus of secrets and half-whispered promises. The encounter by the water had lit a spark that refused to be quenched, and Arya found herself irresistibly drawn back to the place where her destiny had shifted. The air was thick with anticipation, the night urging her forward with a quiet insistence that spoke of revelations yet to come. In the days following that fateful morning, Arya's world had grown increasingly complex. In the heart of the bustling city, where modernity clashed with the natural world, she discovered cryptic references in her family's old diaries. The faded ink revealed tales of forbidden love, dark pacts, and an ancestral commitment to a legacy cloaked in shadows. Each line she read stirred memories she had long suppressed, a delicate tapestry of pain, passion, and peril. She recalled fragments of her grandmother's voice speaking of hidden truths and whispered warnings about the cost of unbridled affection in a world where the supernatural intermingled with human frailty. Arya's nights were no longer ones of solitude but instead were filled with intense dreams. In them, the visions of a tormented past played out in vivid detail. A woman, bearing a striking resemblance to Arya, moved through candlelit corridors in an old estate with traces of both beauty and despair etched into her every gesture. The spectral figure's eyes pleaded for liberation from the chains of a curse passed from one generation to the next. These dreams, as unsettling as they were mesmerizing, left Arya questioning the veracity of her own lineage. Had her family been marked by a hidden darkness long ago, one that might have a connection to the enigmatic Silas? One evening, as rain pelted the city streets with rhythmic persistence, Arya sought the counsel of a trusted mentor, her old friend, Marianne, who had long been fascinated by local folklore and the supernatural. Marianne, a woman whose gentle wisdom belied a steely resolve, welcomed Arya into her modest apartment lined with ancient tomes and relics of bygone eras. "Your heart holds more than just sorrow, Arya," Marianne remarked in a hushed tone as she poured tea from a chipped porcelain pot. "It resonates with secrets that our ancestors wished to keep hidden for a reason." Arya, her eyes reflecting the storm outside, confided in Marianne about her recurring visions and the diary entries that hinted at a perilous family pact. "I fear that the curse isn't just a myth," she whispered, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Marianne's gaze softened with empathy as she replied, "Every family harbors its skeletons, dear. Sometimes, confronting the darkness is the only path to reclaiming the light. But you must be cautious, some truths are double-edged." Meanwhile, Silas was not idle in the depths of his own inner storm. Haunted by the weight of a curse that had isolated him from a semblance of normalcy, he wrestled with memories of betrayals long past. Within the hidden circles of his pack, whispers of dissent and unrest began to circulate. A faction of shifters, emboldened by a desire to embrace the ancient curse rather than overcome it, had arisen, threatening the delicate balance between their dual natures. In clandestine gatherings under the moon's watchful eye, these dissenters advocated for embracing the ferocity of their primal selves as a means of asserting dominance. Silas, torn between loyalty to a fractured pack and the desperate hope that love might free him from his torment, found himself increasingly isolated. One fog-laden night, as the moon cast eerie reflections over puddles on rain-soaked streets, Silas met with an old confidant, Roderick, a grizzled veteran of battles fought both within and without the pack. In a secluded corner of a forgotten warehouse, where echoes of past confrontations seemed to linger in the very air, Roderick spoke with a measured gravitas. "Silas, there's power in the old ways, ways that our kind has long abandoned," he intoned, his voice mingling with the sound of distant thunder. "There are those who believe that embracing our curse fully, without the pretense of human emotion, is the path to true dominion. But that path comes at a steep cost." Silas's eyes narrowed, the internal conflict etched into every line of his face. "And what of love, Roderick? Is it not a strength rather than a frailty?" he challenged, a flicker of defiance and sorrow warring in his tone. Roderick's response was measured, his words carrying the weight of hard-earned experience. "Love in our world is both a blessing and a bane. It can be the spark that ignites rebellion against our nature, or the ember that fuels our downfall. To use it wisely requires a courage that few possess." At the same time, Arya's investigation into her family's past led her to an abandoned estate on the fringes of Havenwood. Once the opulent home of her ancestors, now a crumbling relic hiding whispers of scandal and secrets. Navigating through the labyrinthine corridors with nothing but a flickering lantern and her own mounting determination, she uncovered a locked room that held remnants of a life shadowed in mystery. In a dusty chest buried beneath moth-eaten drapes, she found faded photographs, handwritten letters, and a peculiar amulet inscribed with symbols that bore an uncanny resemblance to those described in Silas's accounts of the curse. The discovery left Arya trembling with a mixture of dread and revelation. Each artifact told a story, a narrative of forbidden unions, of a woman cast aside by societal norms, and of a man who had once dared to defy his heritage for the sake of love. As she pieced together the fragments of her family's history, a horrifying realization dawned upon her. Her bloodline was intricately entwined with a legacy of sacrifice and redemption, one that had possibly set the stage for her encounter with Silas. The amulet, in particular, pulsed with an unearthly glow as if echoing the heartbeat of a long-forgotten promise. Back in the secret meeting places of the pack, Silas's inner turmoil was mirrored by an escalating external threat. The faction advocating for the acceptance of the curse had begun mobilizing, their covert machinations targeting both rogue shifters and those who dared defy the old order. Whispers of an ancient ritual, one that could permanently sever the bond between the shifter and his humanity, started to circulate with alarming frequency. The ritual, steeped in myths and blood-soaked history, promised liberation from the curse but at a price that could potentially decimate the pack's unity. Late one night, while the city slept under a blanket of uneasy quiet, Silas attended an illicit gathering in a secluded forest clearing. The air was thick with the scent of damp leaves and moss, and the gathering was illuminated by a spectral glow that danced between the gnarled trees. There, shifters gathered in a solemn assembly, their eyes reflecting the fierce light of rebellion as they debated the merits of their ancestral ways. At the center of this conclave, Silas took a stand. His voice, barely a whisper above the rustling wind, resonated with a passion that belied his inner anguish. "I choose a different path, a path that honors both our nature and the possibility of redemption," he declared, his words met with a mix of awe and scorn. The tension was palpable, as if the very air vibrated with the clash of ideologies. The dissenters, refusing to yield to the prospect of change, murmured threats that promised strife and retribution. In the aftermath of that gathering, Silas grappled with a gnawing uncertainty. The chasm between what he desired and what was expected by his kind widened, and every decision became a perilous gamble between personal salvation and the survival of his legacy. His mind teemed with conflicting memories, the warmth of Arya's touch, the echo of her voice mingling with the stark reality of his existential crisis. Every thought led him inexorably back to her, the one beacon of hope in an otherwise dark horizon. Meanwhile, Arya wrestled with her own cascading doubts. The deeper she delved into her family's past, the more she uncovered about a betrayal that dated back to the earliest days of the curse. A secret relationship had set off a chain of events that culminated in a bitter feud, one that not only shattered families but also fueled the cycle of vengeance that now threatened to engulf both her world and Silas's. Sitting alone in her room, lit only by the dull glow of a single lamp, Arya recalled a snippet of a letter written in a trembling hand. "Our love shall either unite the broken or doom us to eternal solitude." Those words, both haunting and hopeful, echoed in her mind as she clutched the mysterious amulet. It was as if the relic was not merely an heirloom but a talisman that held the key to mending the fractures of her lineage. As her investigation deepened, Arya began to sense an unseen force conspiring to keep the truth hidden. Unknown adversaries seemed to emerge from the shadows, figures shrouded in darkness who monitored her every move. The stakes had risen sharply. Her quest for answers was now intertwined with a larger, more dangerous conflict. Whispers of blackmail, betrayal, and old vendettas circulated in hushed tones among those who once trusted her family. An unsettling realization took root. The revelations she pursued might unlock powers that even she was unprepared to confront, forces that could tip the balance between life and death for everyone she held dear. One rainy evening, when the skies wept in unison with her inner torment, Arya received an anonymous message that chilled her to the core. The note was simple yet ominous. "Some truths are best left buried. Beware the shadows that seek to claim you." The message was unsigned, but its warning carried the authority of someone who had tread the dangerous path she now embarked upon. The note fueled her determination while simultaneously igniting a sliver of doubt. Could the darkness that haunted her family's legacy be even more treacherous than she had ever imagined? Driven by an unyielding need to piece together the mystery, Arya arranged to meet a reclusive historian reputed to possess forbidden knowledge about the origins of the curse. In a dimly lit archive hidden beneath layers of dust and time, the historian Mr. Caldwell laid out ancient manuscripts and brittle documents. Your ancestors were not mere victims, he explained in a low, resonating tone. They were both the architects and the casualties of a pact sealed in despair and ambition. To free yourself, you must first understand the full measure of their sacrifice, and the treachery that set it in motion. His words painted a haunting picture of a legacy marred by betrayal and profound regret, one that spanned generations and echoed through every ritual and legend in Havenwood. With each revelation, Arya's resolve only hardened. She could no longer view her lineage as a series of tragic, isolated incidents. Instead, they were interconnected pieces of a grand and intricate puzzle, one that held the potential to break the cycle of sorrow that had haunted her family for so long. The forbidden knowledge she now possessed bolstered her determination to face not only the external threats posed by nefarious figures lurking in the shadows but also the inner demons that had long tormented her. Back in the wilderness, Silas navigated through his personal battlefield. The chasm between his desire for normalcy and the inevitability of his curse widened with every passing moon. In moments of introspection, he recalled tender memories of a time before the curse, the fleeting, almost forgotten moments when laughter and light could exist side by side with sorrow. These memories served as a counterpoint to the seething anger that now threatened to overwhelm him. Can love defy destiny? He often questioned silently, his gaze lost in the star-studded night. Yet each time, the answer lay in the unwavering thought of Arya, the one who had dared to see through the layers of his pain. In a heart-wrenching conversation by a smoldering campfire deep in the forest, Silas confided his inner torment to a trusted lieutenant, Elena, whose fierce loyalty was matched only by her own haunted past. I fear that the growing unrest within the pack will tear us apart, he admitted, his voice barely audible over the crackling flames. Elena, her eyes reflecting both empathy and steely determination, pressed on. Your struggle is not isolated, Silas. Sometimes, the path to redemption requires sacrificing what we once held dear. There is much at stake, not just for you but for all of us ensnared by this ancient curse. Her words, filled with both warning and hope, resonated deeply with him, reaffirming his internal conflict and the painful choices that lay ahead. As midnight approached on a particularly somber night, fate interwove the destinies of Arya and Silas even further. Arya, now armed with cryptic clues from the estate and the historian's insights, and Silas, burdened by the rising tensions within his pack, found themselves on parallel paths edging towards an inevitable collision. Their separate quests for truth, redemption, and freedom from their respective curses seemed destined to converge in ways neither could fully anticipate. In the final hours before dawn, as the first glimmers of light dared to challenge the hold of darkness, Arya uncovered one final piece of the puzzle in a hidden compartment behind a forgotten portrait. A delicate locket lay inside, containing a miniature portrait of a young couple whose eyes shone with both defiance and sorrow. The inscription on the back of the locket read, "For love that defies even the cold grip of fate." In that fragile metal, Arya sensed the culmination of countless untold stories, a message from the past urging her to challenge the curse at its very core. With her heart pounding and the weight of ancient secrets pressing in on her, she clutched the locket as if it were her last connection to a hope that had long been buried beneath layers of betrayal and regret. The revelation was clear. The path to redemption for both her family and Silas's cursed lineage was inextricably linked, bound together by the unwavering force of a love that dared to transcend the boundaries of time, betrayal, and destiny. Yet, as the threads of fate tightened around her, Arya's mind churned with the magnitude of the conflict to come. Every heartbeat was now a pulse in the grand tapestry of danger, woven with the fine threads of loyalty, defiance, and the unforeseen consequences of hidden truths. In that liminal moment between night and day, the stage was set for a confrontation that promised to shatter illusions and forever alter the fabric of their intertwined lives. As the pale light of morning began to edge the horizon, the world around Arya seemed to hold its breath in anticipation, the silence before the storm echoing the uncertainty that now governed her every move. Every secret uncovered, every painful memory relived, and every promise made in the echoing corridors of her past had led inexorably to this moment of reckoning, a moment that would determine whether the legacy of betrayal would continue or if the healing embrace of love and redemption might finally prevail. Caught between the dual forces of hope and despair, destiny beckoned Arya to move forward despite the looming specter of danger. With the ancient locket as her talisman and the bitter taste of truth lingering on her lips, she stepped away from the comforting gloom of the estate, venturing back into the maelstrom of uncertainty that awaited her. In that decisive moment, her resolve crystallized like the first frost of winter, igniting a spark that promised to illuminate even the darkest corridors of fate. The promise of a new beginning warred with the echoes of past betrayals, a relentless struggle that pulsed with both pain and promise. The collision of past and present, the meeting of souls scarred by history yet unbowed by fate, set the stage for a cataclysmic showdown. With every step, Arya and Silas edged closer to a destiny that was as perilous as it was transformative, the delicate balance of their worlds teetering on the brink of an upheaval that could either reconcile ancient wounds or tear them irrevocably apart. In the enigmatic silence that followed the revelation, one thing was certain: their intertwined fates would soon face the ultimate trial, one that would leave nothing untouched by the unyielding force of time and truth. In the early hours of a restless night, as the city slumbered beneath a blanket of expectant clouds, the quiet murmur of destiny stirred with renewed intensity. Arya, with the ancient locket clutched tightly in her hand, found herself navigating a labyrinth of uncertainty and resolve. The mysteries of her bloodline and the secrets encoded in its relics had awakened something within her, a determination to defy a long-cursed legacy and to reclaim the honor that time had battered. Every step she took along the dimly lit streets was punctuated by an inner drumbeat that foretold of an imminent reckoning. After the revelations unearthed at the abandoned estate, Arya had grown increasingly aware of the dangerous forces that prowled the margins of her life. Whispers in the wind spoke of clandestine meetings and covert alliances forged in the shadows. As she moved through the urban maze of Havenwood, fragmented memories of old family feuds and betrayals coalesced into a tangible tension, like the prelude to a violent storm. The ancient curse, long believed to be an immutable sentence of sorrow, was gradually revealing cracks in its impenetrable facade. For Arya, it was no longer enough to simply remain a passive observer of the past. The time had come to engage with it directly. Meanwhile, Silas grappled with his own inner demons and the growing discord within his pack. The clandestine faction advocating for a return to unbridled savagery threatened to upend every ounce of hope he had clung to since his fateful encounter with Arya. In an effort to stem the tide of rebellion, Silas convened a secret council in a secluded forest clearing that bore the scars of ancient rituals and bathed in the ghostly glow of a harvest moon. Under the shroud of night, with the murmurs of dissent echoing among the ancient trees, he sought counsel from his most trusted lieutenants. In a hushed, impassioned tone that belied the gravity of his predicament, Silas addressed his loyal followers. "We stand at a precipice," he intoned, his voice resonating with both authority and weariness. "Our heritage is one of both magnificence and torment, a duality that has seen us divided by centuries of strife and secrets. Yet today I call upon each of you to remember that redemption is not only the path of the righteous, but also the courage to embrace change." His words fell upon a mixed assembly of hardened warriors and reluctant adherents. Among them was Elena, whose steadfast gaze and measured replies betrayed a deep inner conflict. "Alphas and shifters alike must reconsider what it means to wield power," she murmured. "Can we ever truly break free from the chains that bind us? Or will we forever be haunted by the mistakes of our forebears?" The conversation in the forest was charged with a silent promise, a pact of transformation that hinged on overcoming old dogmas. Silas's declaration, while stirring hope in some hearts, ignited fierce resistance in others. The schism in the pack threatened not only the delicate unity that had been maintained for centuries but also Silas's fragile connection with the woman who represented everything pure and redeemable in his life. That same night, Arya, guided by dreams and the weight of her newfound revelations, arranged to meet an enigmatic figure known only as Mr. Hawthorne. A recluse with a reputation for possessing arcane knowledge of the curse's origins, Hawthorne had once been a guardian of secrets too perilous to be shared. In a dimly lit study lined with dusty manuscripts and relics from a bygone era, Hawthorne unfolded the story of a forbidden love that had sparked a chain reaction of betrayals. "Your family's fate was sealed the moment that passion defied the strictures of our ancestors," he explained in a gravelly tone that spoke of sorrow and resignation. "What you hold in your hand is not merely an heirloom, it is a talisman imbued with the power to reshape destiny. But beware, for every act of defiance comes at a cost." His words, layered with cryptic metaphors, resonated deeply within Arya. The historian's somber warnings planted a seed of both resolve and trepidation, as she realized that her quest was far more than an exploration of the past, it was a battle against the very fabric of fate. Haunted by the weight of these revelations, Arya found herself haunted by shadows at every turn. At one point, while retracing the footsteps of her ancestors along a long-forgotten path deep in the forest, she encountered a spectral vision, a translucent figure draped in ethereal light whose eyes shimmered with ancient grief. "The past is never truly dead," the apparition whispered, its voice a mere caress of wind through brittle leaves. "Only those brave enough to confront it can hope to rewrite the future." The encounter, as unnerving as it was illuminating, steeled her resolve further. Every mystery, every whispered secret, and every sorrowful memory was a thread in the grand tapestry of a legacy that she was now determined to salvage. Back at the Forest Council, an unexpected emissary arrived, an estranged member of Silas's pack named Dorian, whose allegiance had been splintered by past transgressions. With eyes that flickered like embers in the darkness, Dorian carried news that would upend the fragile equilibrium Silas had fought to maintain. "There is a faction, deemed the Bloodbound, that seeks to harness the curse in its raw, untamed form," he revealed in a voice laden with urgency. "They have discovered an ancient rite, one that promises to sever the shifter from his humanity permanently, leaving only the beast to rule unchecked." His revelation brought a palpable chill to the gathering, as the specter of irreversible loss loomed large. The Bloodbound's radical ideology, if fully realized, would not only fracture the pack but also jeopardize the tenuous hopes Silas nurtured for a future where love could truly conquer the curse. The council erupted into fevered debate, voices rising and falling like the gusts of an approaching storm. Silas, ever the mediator, struggled to quell the discord with both passion and measured reason. "We must find balance," he implored, his gaze flickering toward the memory of Arya's defiant innocence. "To surrender wholly to the curse is to lose ourselves, but to deny it is to be forever haunted by our origins. Our greatest strength lies in our ability to merge the wisdom of our past with the promise of tomorrow." His plea, however, did little to silence the clamor of dissent, and the rift among the shifters widened with every passing minute. In the midst of this turmoil, a coded message arrived for both Arya and Silas, its origins unknown but its message unmistakable. "When the full moon burns with the fire of the ancients, the reckoning will be upon you. Seek the hidden sanctum at the edge of despair, where truth awaits and destinies collide." The message pulsed with an energy that neither time nor fear could diminish, compelling both lovers to hasten toward an uncertain meeting point. It was as if the very forces of fate had interjected with a directive so potent that refusal was no longer an option. Drawn together by threads of destiny and desperation, Arya and Silas conspired in secret. In hushed conversations held in the twilight hours, they exchanged confessions, fears, and fragmented hopes. "I have seen the sins of our forefathers, and I feel the heavy burden of every broken promise," Arya confessed one evening as rain drummed against the window of a secluded safe house. "Yet I believe that our love, as improbable as it may seem, can be the catalyst for a new beginning." Silas, his voice a blend of defiance and quiet sorrow, responded, "Even if the curse has marred our paths with sorrow and betrayal, together we might yet write a different story, one where redemption is not a myth but a choice." Their shared determination stirred a resolve that transcended the boundaries of fate and the rigid dictates of their cursed destinies. Over the following days, their clandestine meetings grew more frequent, each encounter weaving their hearts closer together while pushing them ever nearer the impending confrontation with the Bloodbound and the inescapable pull of ancient rituals. Arya's nights were filled with restless dreams wherein she wandered vast, shadowed halls, searching for answers among the echoes of those who had come before her. In one such dream, the spectral figure of her great-grandmother appeared, her voice resonant and somber. "The path to salvation is treacherous and strewn with the bones of despair. Yet, within every secret lies the potential for healing if only you dare to embrace the darkness and forge it into light." These dreams, though disquieting, bolstered Arya's conviction that every revelation, and every hidden truth, was a piece of the puzzle necessary for breaking the cycle of the curse. As the day of the prophesied full moon approached, an air of inevitable climax descended upon Havenwood. The convergence of divergent fates, the discord within the shifter pack, and the manifold secrets of Arya's lineage coalesced into a singular, inescapable moment of reckoning. Against a backdrop of swirling mists and trembling stars, the hidden sanctum awaited, a forsaken structure at the periphery of despair, rumored to be the ancient site where the original pact of betrayal had been forged in blood. Its crumbling walls were etched with faded symbols and cryptic inscriptions, each mark a testament to the myriad lives that had been lost in the relentless pursuit of power and vengeance. In the shadow of the sanctum, Silas and Arya converged amidst the murmur of ancestral voices and the distant howls of restless beasts. The air was thick with foreboding as the two faced each other, the gravity of their choices hanging like a shroud between them. Silas's eyes, dark with sorrow and fierce resolve, sought the affirmation of a future where passion might yet rewrite destiny. "We stand upon the threshold of a revelation that could either free us or damn us forever," he murmured, his voice trembling with both fear and hope. "But I would choose this uncertain fate with you over a lifetime of regret." Arya, her heart pounding with the weight of destinies intertwined, replied in a tone both determined and tender, "Let us shatter the chains of our past even if the cost is steep. For love must be our guide, and in its light, we might find not only our redemption but the strength to dismantle the curse that has tormented our families for generations." Her words, imbued with the intensity of her conviction, resonated deeply amidst the ancient stones and whispered legends that surrounded them. With the full moon finally ascending into a sky ablaze with silvery luminescence, the sanctum became the stage for an awe-inspiring confrontation. The bloodbound emerged from the shadows, their eyes alight with fanaticism and a ferocity born of centuries of unbridled sorrow. Their leader, a formidable figure cloaked in the remnants of forgotten power, stepped forward and proclaimed, "The time has come to reclaim what is rightfully ours, the unbound fury of our true nature. Let the old ways be cast aside, for evolution demands sacrifice." His voice boomed, echoing in the hollow ruins and sending tremors through both friend and foe alike. In that charged moment, as the forces of tradition and transformation clashed under the watchful gaze of the full moon, Silas and Arya found themselves at the center of a maelstrom. Their alliance, forged in the crucible of shared pain and luminous hope, was pitted against the relentless tide of ancestral dogma and dark ambition. Every heartbeat, every whispered vow, carried the promise of defiance, a declaration that love, however fragile, could become a power potent enough to overturn the course of fate itself. The ensuing struggle was a visceral dance between primal instincts and the refined expressions of human courage. Amid the chaos, Silas fought not merely for his own salvation but for the redemption of a legacy tarnished by betrayal. Arya, with the locket burning against her chest, wove through the melee like a beacon of resolute light, her presence a testament to the triumph of hope over despair. Every blow exchanged, every incantation uttered, was steeped in the poetry of redemption, a symphony of defiance against the tyranny of the past. As the last vestiges of the bloodbound's fervor began to crumble beneath the unwavering resolve of the united forces of change, the sanctum itself trembled as if in acknowledgement of the monumental shift unfolding within its ancient walls. In the charged silence that followed, the very essence of the curse appeared to waver, its dark grip loosening ever so slightly. It was in that fragile pause, between the echoes of ancient sorrow and the promise of a reimagined future, that both Silas and Arya dared to hope for a resolution that transcended the brutal cycles of revenge and despair. The culmination of hours wrought with bravery and despair culminated in a singular, breathtaking moment of clarity. The dark forces that had long sought to perpetuate the curse found themselves overwhelmed by a force that was not solely born of brute strength, but of an ethereal love that bridged generations. In the heart of that forsaken sanctum, under the radiant gaze of the full moon, Silas and Arya embraced the power of their united destinies, an act that reverberated with the promise of transformation across the tapestry of their intertwined lives. With the first hints of dawn casting gentle hues across the horizon, the sprawling battleground of the past began to yield to a tranquil promise of renewal. The ancient curse, its malevolent energy diffusing like mist in the morning sun, was left to wither under the weight of newfound hope and resolute love. As the murmurs of the supernatural receded into a fragile calm, every soul present, be they shifter or descendant, felt the stirrings of a change that would redefine the legacy of their forebears. In the quiet aftermath of conflict, as memories of pain were tempered by the promise of healing, Silas and Arya stood together on the threshold of a reimagined future. Their eyes, once haunted by the darkness of an inescapable past, now shone with the light of a potential unburdened by ancient regrets. Every scar told a story of battles fought, every tear bore testament to the cost of redemption, and every steady beat of their hearts was a resounding declaration that love, despite its endless trials, could guide them beyond the realms of cursed destiny. The night, charged with the memories of sacrifice and the quiet aftershock of valor, began to yield to a dawning epiphany. With every step forward, the legacy of betrayal and sorrow dissipated, replaced by the glimmering promise of reconstruction, a testament to the resilience of the human and supernatural spirit. In that defining moment, as the full moon surrendered to the gentle kiss of sunrise, a new chapter was etched into the annals of Havenwood, one where the specters of the past were laid to rest, replaced by the bright and enduring light of hope, courage, and love. Every whispered secret, every sacrifice born from the depths of despair, and every defiant stand taken in the name of redemption had led to this singular, transformative juncture. The journey was far from over, yet in the charged silence of that transcendent moment, both Silas and Arya found solace in the understanding that even the most harrowing destinies could be remolded through the power of unity and perseverance. As their intertwined fates embraced the promise of a long-awaited deliverance, the ancient curse that had plagued generations began to dissolve, an echo of a bygone era vanishing into the mists of time. In the resonant stillness that followed the tumult of battle, the sanctum and its legacy bore witness to a truth as immutable as it was serene. Love, when nurtured by the fires of hope and tempered by sacrifice, could reshape even the most intractable of curses. And so, with hearts ablaze and souls unburdened by the ghosts of a tortured past, the unified destinies of Silas and Arya set forth upon a new journey, a journey toward healing, transformation, and the quiet triumph of light over darkness. In the dim glow of twilight, as the vestiges of the previous night's turmoil began to settle into an uneasy calm, Arya found herself drawn to the forgotten corridors of an ancient manor deep in the heart of Havenwood's forest. The manor, long abandoned by the living yet perpetually inhabited by memories of a bygone era, beckoned to her with an almost magnetic allure. Its weathered stone walls and crumbling arches whispered the secrets of generations past, urging her to uncover truths that had long lain hidden in the shadows of her lineage. 4 weeks after the fateful night at the sanctum, Arya had been beset by an intensifying mix of hope and dread. The revelations from the historic estate, the cryptic messages, and the passionate confessions shared with Silas had left her with more questions than answers. Now, she was determined to bring to light the final fragments of her family's mysterious heritage. Guided by instinct and the unyielding spark of curiosity, she made her way to the manor armed only with a small lantern and the ancient locket that had become the symbol of her defiance against the curse. Inside the manor's dilapidated halls, every echo of her footsteps seemed to stir the dust of secrets that had long been resigned to silence. Faded portraits of stern ancestors lined the corridor, their eyes following her every movement with an expression of melancholic warning. In the dim flicker of her lantern, Arya discovered a concealed room behind an ornate, cobweb-laden mirror. The door, half obscured by layers of dust and neglect, creaked open to reveal a cramped study filled with stacks of yellowed parchment, brittle diaries, and a solitary wooden chest bound by rusted iron. Her pulse quickened as she slowly approached the chest. The wood was scarred by time and betrayal, and carved upon it were motifs unmistakably linked to the ancestral symbols that had appeared in both her family documents and in Silas's recounting of the curse. With tentative hands, she unlatched the chest and lifted its heavy lid to reveal a collection of long-forgotten relics. Among them lay a bundle of meticulously preserved letters, each sealed with a crest that mirrored the patterns on the locket. The letters were the final testament of a name lost to history, a name that would shatter everything Arya thought she knew about her destiny. As she unfurled the topmost letter, a single phrase leaped from the faded ink and seared itself into her mind. Our fate was intertwined from the very first breath of destiny, and the blood that courses in your veins bears a truth that defies the very nature of our curse. The declaration was addressed not to a lover or a friend, but directly to a descendant. As Arya read, a chilling realization began to crystallize. The words revealed a legacy marred by deception and sacrifice. Her ancestors had once been healers, a secret society entrusted with the task of guarding against the malevolence of a supernatural curse. Yet, in a twist that defied logic, those same ancestors had struck a bargain with a dark force in their desperate bid to secure power and immortality. The cost of that bargain was the curse itself, a legacy that had transformed them into unwilling pariahs in the annals of history. The letters spoke of a clandestine ritual, a desperate attempt to defy the fated cycle of sorrow and destruction. The ritual, however, was never completed, and in its wake was left a fragmented, unfulfilled promise of salvation. More startling than the mere existence of the ritual was the revelation that Arya's bloodline contained the key to its completion. According to the cryptic script, only the pure-hearted descendant, born of an untainted union of love and remorse, could rally the lost energies of the past and break the curse once and for all. Even as these truths unfolded before her eyes, Arya's thoughts were interrupted by the creak of a floorboard behind her. She froze, clutching the letters to her chest. The manor, it seemed, was not entirely abandoned. Out of the gloom emerged an unexpected figure, a man whose familiar features stirred a cascade of conflicting emotions. It was Ethan, a reclusive relative she had heard whisperings about in family lore, a name shrouded in both respect and apprehension. His presence was almost spectral in the soft luminescence of the lantern. "Arya," he said, his voice low and measured, betraying both relief and sorrow. I have been waiting for you. There is something you must know, a truth that will redefine everything you hold dear. His eyes, reflecting a lifetime of secrets, bore into hers with an intensity that left no room for doubt. Ethan explained that he had been entrusted with safeguarding the ancient manuscripts of their family, chronicling both the noble pursuits of their forebears and the betrayal that had ensnared them in darkness. His role had been that of the silent keeper, a guardian burdened with the weight of potential redemption that he now believed could be achieved through Arya. Ethan's revelation was both a balm and a weapon to her conflicted soul. He recounted how their ancestors had originally struggled to perfect the sacred ritual that promised liberation. The ritual, he explained, required the convergence of potent symbols of ancient power, symbols that had been scattered across Havenwood in relics now thought lost. The locket you hold, he said, reaching out to gently touch it, is one such symbol, and your destiny is far greater than the simple curse that has haunted our family for generations. His tone was laced with urgency as he revealed that time was of the essence. Dark forces were gathering, their intent to harness the curse's power for nefarious ends growing ever stronger with each passing day. As Ethan spoke, the gravity of the situation became unmistakably clear. The convergence of fate was imminent. Arya was to be the catalyst for a ritual that could not only break the curse but also heal the fractured bonds of a legacy marred by betrayal. But it was not without peril. Forces from both the supernatural realm and treacherous human factions had long coveted the power locked within her lineage. Ethan urged her to prepare, to embrace the revelations of the past and to seek out the remaining relics essential to the ritual, each hidden within the storied landscapes of Havenwood, from the urban sprawl to the wild, untamed expanses beyond. The conversation took on a fevered pitch as Ethan unfurled a faded map, its edges brittle and its lines drawn with an artistry that belied a deep, almost mystical significance. Marked upon the map were several locations: a ruined chapel deep in the forest, a derelict observatory atop a lonely hill, and a cavern beneath the ancient oak grove. Each site, he explained, was imbued with energies that had once been harnessed by the ancestral healers. These relics are not mere trinkets, he stressed. They are conduits of a long-forgotten power. When brought together in the proper sequence, they will illuminate the path to breaking the curse and uniting our fractured legacy. Deep within Arya's heart, the realization took hold that the destiny before her was both a grave burden and a beacon of hope. The twists of fate had led her not only to Silas and the passionate battle against the ancient curse, but also to a more profound understanding of her own identity, a truth that intertwined her existence with the very fabric of her family's past. Yet even as Ethan's words kindled a spark of resolve, another layer of the enigma began to reveal itself. In one of the final letters tucked away in the chest, there lay a signature, a name simply written as A. The initial sent a shiver down her spine. Could it be that this stood for the progenitor of the curse, the person who had dared to defy fate so many years ago? And if so, what connection did that have with her own destiny? The implication was both tantalizing and terrifying. It hinted that the true key to their salvation lay in embracing the darkness of their past, rather than rejecting it outright. Ethan, noticing the tremor in her voice, gently assured her, "There will come a moment when all questions must be answered and all secrets unveiled. You must be prepared to face the truth about who you are, Arya. Only then will you find the strength to harness the power within you." His words resonated deeply, stirring a maelstrom of emotions: fear, anticipation, and a fierce resolve to break free from the curse that had defined generations. As midnight approached, the manor itself seemed to awaken with a spectral energy. The temperature dropped noticeably, and the very walls of the study pulsed with an ancient, almost rhythmic force. It was as if the manor were a living archive, replete with its own memories and yearning to contribute to the unfolding saga. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed through the corridors, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps in the hall outside. The manor's silence was abruptly shattered by a cacophony of discord, a reminder that Arya's quest for truth was being watched by unseen eyes. Ethan's eyes darkened with concern as he whispered, "We are not alone. The forces that seek to usurp this power have sensed our gathering. You must prepare to leave, to complete your journey before they converge upon us." The urgency in his tone left little room for debate. Quickly, he tucked the precious map and the remaining letters into his coat and extended a trembling hand to Arya. "Come with me quickly. The window to reclaim our legacy is closing, and with it, our chance for redemption." Without hesitating, Arya gathered the relics and letters, feeling their weight as symbols of both burden and possibility. With Ethan leading the way into the labyrinthine maze of the manor's back corridors, the distant sounds of intruders grew louder, a spectral warning of a coming storm that would test everything they had fought so hard to preserve. Their hurried escape was punctuated by moments of heart-stopping suspense, the clash of unseen adversaries against ancient doors, whispered threats that echoed down the empty halls, and the persistent reminder that every secret uncovered had its own price. In one narrow corridor, just as they reached a heavy locked door that led to the outer grounds, the unmistakable sound of footsteps slowed to a halt. Arya froze as the door began to tremble under the force of an unknown presence. In that suspended moment, with her heart pounding like thunder in her ears, she clutched the locket and the map as if they were her last tether to hope. Behind the battered door, a muffled dialogue broke the silence. Snatches of a sinister plan, hints of a betrayal that would tie all the loose ends of her ancestral history into one final, explosive revelation. Before either could react, the door burst open, and figures cloaked in dark attire spilled into the corridor, their eyes reflecting nothing but cold determination and malice. Ethan shouted a warning as he pulled Arya into a side passage, the echo of their frantic footsteps merging with the approaching threat. The chase was on, a desperate scramble through secret passages and hidden doorways that had once sheltered their ancestors' most guarded confidences. As they navigated the twisting maze of the manor, the clash between the inescapable past and an uncertain future reached a fever pitch. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to press in on every side, as if the very manor itself were rebelling against the intrusion of those who sought to unravel its mysteries. Amid the chaos, Arya's mind raced with the chilling implications of the letter's signature, the solitary A, that hinted at an even deeper connection to the origins of the curse. Was her own existence the final piece of a puzzle designed not only to doom her family but also to offer its ultimate redemption? Every moment pulsed with the tension of a heart nearing its breaking point. In the midst of the frantic flight, a sudden realization dawned upon Arya. The answers she had sought were not hidden solely in relics or ancient texts, but in the truths buried deep within herself. This epiphany, as overwhelming as it was liberating, signaled a turning point in her internal struggle, a reckoning that would demand she confront not only the legacy of darkness but also the fragile light of hope residing within her own heart. The echoes of pursuit subsided as they finally emerged into the cool, unforgiving night air beyond the manor's boundaries. Under an expansive canvas of star-studded sky, Arya paused to catch her breath. The adrenaline coursing through her veins was tempered by the newfound clarity in her mind, a clarity wrought by centuries of hidden anguish and quiet resilience. Before her stretched a new path, illuminated by the combined forces of revelation and determination, yet shadowed by the unresolved threats that lurked just beyond the horizon. As Ethan hurriedly ushered her away from the manor, the silent promise of the ancient ritual lingered in the air, a promise that if Arya could master the revelations of her past, she might yet harness the power to free her bloodline from the curse. But with every step forward, the knowledge that dark forces were closing in gnawed at the edges of her resolve. The night, heavy with unspoken vows and the weight of destiny, had gifted her a singular, breathtaking truth. Her journey toward redemption was far from over, and the final chapter of her legacy had yet to be written. In that charged moment of suspense, balancing on the threshold between the known and the unknown, Arya's determination hardened. The secrets of her heritage would no longer be a source of torment. Instead, they would serve as the cornerstone for a future she was now resolute to claim. Yet, as the chill wind swept through the desolate landscape, carrying with it the faint sounds of an approaching storm, a single thought reverberated in her mind. The true enemy was not only the curse or the dark forces that pursued her, but the very legacy of betrayal that had betrayed their trust in the name of power. With the path to the remaining relics now spread out before her, and the shadow of imminent danger looming large, Arya took her first decisive step into the night, her heart a battleground of fear and fierce resolve, her eyes fixed on a destiny that was as treacherous as it was transformative. The secrets of the past demanded reckoning, and with that reckoning came the promise of illumination, a promise that, in the end, might set her free. Beyond the shrouded veil of uncertainty and amid the whispered echoes of a legacy long burdened by treachery, Arya stepped into a realm that defied both time and expectation. The chase through the manor had yielded not only relics and revelations but a stirring within her soul, a determination to rewrite the narrative of her bloodline once and for all. Standing at the precipice of destiny beneath a sky ablaze with the first tentative stars of evening, she felt the heavy weight of her ancestors' sins intertwined with the promise of redemption. It was here, on the rugged outskirts of Havenwood, that the final convergence of fate, love, and defiance was to unfold. In the cool twilight, Arya's heart pounded with a rhythm born of both fear and fierce determination. By her side Ethan, long the silent guardian of their shared past, traced the contours of the faded map, now a beacon that illuminated a path marked by both danger and hope. "This is it," he murmured, his voice resolute yet soft. "The last of the relics lies hidden beneath the remnants of the old chapel at the edge of the canyon. Once united with the others, it can complete the ritual and sever the curse that has shackled our people for centuries." Her mind raced with recollections. The spectral voices in desolate corridors, the cryptic inscriptions in brittle manuscripts, and the impassioned exchanges with Silas that had rekindled a love battling against the ceaseless tide of darkness. Every moment of fear, every tear shed in solitude, now coalesced into a single determined purpose. With renewed resolve she stepped forward, guided by the luminescence of the ancient locket, a talisman that pulsed with the quiet power of latent hope. Elsewhere, in the heart of Havenwood's bustling urban labyrinth, Silas prepared for what he sensed would be the ultimate confrontation. The internal schism within his pack had reached a boiling point. The blood-bound, fervent in their desire to embrace an unadulterated legacy of savagery, were mobilizing forces that threatened to shatter the delicate balance Silas had fought so desperately to preserve. In a hidden underground chamber beneath a derelict warehouse, he gathered his closest allies, their expressions solemn and marked with the scars of past betrayals. "This is our moment," he declared, his voice resonant with both sorrow and emboldened determination. "I have chosen love as my catalyst for change, a path that contradicts the ancient dogmas and dares to forge a future free of the curse. Tonight, we defy the old order and embrace the possibility of a new legacy, one where each of us can find solace beyond the shadows." His words, layered with the weight of generational struggle, sparked a tentative hope even among the hardened hearts of those assembled. With the map and the relics guiding her path, Arya traversed the rugged landscapes that separated Havenwood's modern sprawl from its untamed outskirts. Along a narrow trail flanked by towering pines and winding underbrush, the forest exhaled an eerie silence as if nature itself were holding its breath. Every step was accompanied by the soft crunch of frost-laden leaves underfoot, a gentle reminder of both the beauty and the severity of the wilderness. As she advanced, the sharp scent of pine and damp earth mingled with the distant murmurs of nocturnal creatures, setting the stage for a final confrontation with her destiny. After hours of cautious navigation through moonlit clearings and narrow ravines, Arya finally reached the remnants of the abandoned chapel, a crumbling edifice that stood as a silent sentinel to a time steeped in mystery and sacrifice. The chapel's once majestic spires were now reduced to skeletal outlines against the ink-black sky, and its heavy wooden doors creaked open as if inviting her into the sanctuary of its sacred gloom. Inside, the space was filled with a quiet reverence, interrupted only by the soft drip of water echoing through the vast emptiness. Dust motes danced in the beams of moonlight piercing through shattered stained glass windows, casting fragmented rainbows across ancient stone floors. In the heart of this desolation, concealed beneath a moss-covered altar, lay the final relic, a silver chalice etched with delicate, swirling engravings that shimmered with an almost imperceptible luminescence. The chalice, according to the cryptic inscriptions found in her family's letters, was the pivotal element required to complete the ritual. With trembling hands, Arya reached for it, the cool metal sending a shiver through her fingertips. In that instant, a profound connection stirred within her. It was as if the chalice itself recognized the burden of her lineage and the hope she embodied, a symbol of a destiny that could transform the relentless cycle of doom into a promise of liberation. As Arya cradled the chalice, a sudden rustle from behind the altar shattered the fragile calm. Out of the shadows emerged a figure clad in dark, weathered attire, a figure whose presence radiated authority and a blend of menace and melancholic regret. It was Silas, whose arrival had been as inevitable as the turning of the seasons. His eyes, filled with an intense blend of yearning and resolve, met hers in a silent communion of hearts intertwined by fate. "Arya," he spoke softly, his voice carrying the weight of a soul weathered by centuries of torment, "I have fought my own demons in the shadows of betrayal and lost hope. But every step has led me to you, the one who can bridge the chasm between our cursed past and the promise of redemption." There, under the ancient vaults of the ruined chapel, the two stood face to face, a union of defiant light and lingering darkness. Their dialogue was a careful dance of vulnerability and unyielding strength. "Silas," Arya replied with a mix of tender warmth and fierce determination, "our love has been our constant guide through the maelstrom of pain and passion. Tonight, with this chalice, I believe we can not only break the curse but also heal the deep wounds that have fragmented our souls for too long. Their voices, resonating with both hope and resolute defiance, interwove with the haunting acoustics of the chapel, giving life to a ritual that had been centuries in the making. The moment of convergence had arrived. With Silas and Arya united, their combined energies felt like the stirring of a primordial force, a force determined to challenge the very laws of destiny. Their actions were both a final act of rebellion against a cursed inheritance and an embrace of the possibility that love, in its most transcendent form, could reconstruct even the most shattered of legacies. Together, they carefully assembled the relics on the altar, the ancient locket, the silver chalice, and the other scattered symbols that Ethan had painstakingly helped recover over the days. As the relics were laid in a precise configuration prescribed by long-forgotten incantations, the space around them seemed to vibrate with the echoes of history. The elements converged: the crisp night air, the soft rumble of distant thunder, and the glimmering reflections of the relics united to create an atmosphere of palpable anticipation. Silas knelt before the altar, drawing upon a reservoir of inner strength forged through years of solitude and bitter conflict. Through the trials of our past and the wounds inflicted by betrayal, we have emerged stronger than the curse that sought to define us, he proclaimed. His voice, echoing against the cold stone walls, resonated as an invocation of their shared destiny. Arya, standing with unwavering poise, lifted the chalice to her lips and whispered an incantation passed down through generations, a prayer meant to invoke the benevolent spirits of their forebears, those who had once been healers and protectors of light. As the sacred words flowed from her, they wove a tapestry of hope, inviting the energies of renewal to cascade upon them. At that critical moment, the forces that had long sought to maintain the curse's grip began to wane. The darkness that had once seemed implacable started to recede, its edges fraying beneath the luminous power of their combined will. Outside, the wind howled as if carrying away the remnants of a haunted past, and the very earth trembled with the promise of transformation. Ethan's earlier warnings of encroaching adversaries faded into insignificance compared to the sheer intensity of that rite, a rite that was rewriting the rules of fate. Suddenly, from the depths of the swirling energies, a vision unfurled before their eyes. It was a spectral tableau of their ancestors, now at peace, their faces alight with gratitude and solemn pride. The ethereal figures conveyed their blessings through silent gestures and shimmering smiles, a final benediction on the union that promised to redeem their shattered lineage. In that stirring moment of collective catharsis, the curse that had tormented the family for generations was lifted, like mist dissolving in the radiant glow of dawn. The transformation was profound and immediate. As the energies subsided, the chapel was bathed in a gentle, silvery light, a light that signified not merely the end of an era of sorrow, but the beginning of a future replete with possibility. Silas and Arya, now bound by a renewed covenant of love and the unburdening of ancient guilt, felt an overwhelming sense of liberation seep into every fiber of their beings. The relics, once harbingers of a cursed destiny, now glimmered with the promise of healing, their power repurposed to foster a legacy defined by resilience and redemption. In the aftermath of the ritual, a hush fell over the ruined sanctuary. Silas rose slowly, his gaze softening as he looked upon Arya with a mingling of wonder and gentle adoration. "The curse is no more," he breathed, his voice carrying the weight of countless lifetimes released from their bonds. "In the very act of embracing our past, even all its pain, we have unlocked a future free from its shackles." Arya, her eyes shimmering with tears of bittersweet triumph, reached out and took Silas's hand. "Our love was always meant to challenge fate," she whispered, her tone resolute yet tender. "Every sacrifice, every betrayal, and every hidden secret has led us to this moment, a moment where redemption and hope reclaim the narrative of our souls." As the first light of dawn began to break through the darkness, the ruined chapel stood transformed, a monument not to despair, but to the possibility of renewal and the strength of the human spirit. The oppressive shadows that had defined generations gave way to a horizon of endless possibilities, where each whispered secret was replaced by the promise of a future built upon the foundations of courage, unity, and unyielding love. In that serene morning, as the echoes of the ritual faded into a quiet reverence, the legacy of a once cursed family was reborn. Silas and Arya, their paths forever intertwined, knew that the journey ahead would still be fraught with challenges, yet they carried with them the indomitable knowledge that love, tempered by the fires of adversity and nourished by the light of redemption, held the transformative power to mend even the deepest wounds of the past. Their odyssey had reached its resplendent end, and in that luminous moment of rebirth, The reverberations of their triumph promised a new beginning for all those touched by the ancient curse. With hearts unburdened and spirits aflame with hope, they stepped forward into a future uncharted, ready to build a legacy of healing and renewal, a legacy that would stand as a timeless testament to the enduring power of love over darkness.